Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to Hangout number 80. Yes, wow. Couple 10, let's see, 20 more. I can't count. 20 more? I'll hit the 100 mark. Hard to believe because that's about 2 years worth of Hangouts, which is exactly how long I've been here. This is the second anniversary, so I guess that's why. I want to welcome everybody who's in the chat room. All right, let's see. Kelly is here. CJ is here. Michaela is here. Scarlett is here. Let's see. Fairy Princess is here. Who's there? Benny is here and may be awake for a little while because he's in Denmark, and this is 7 p.m. Eastern time in the U.S. Let's see who else is here. Maria's here, but she says I was here, but I can't stay because it doesn't fit the schedule. Yeah, sometimes that's true, and it sucks. But I've tried to move the times around so everybody can see these things. Mary is here and says. That you watched the Warren Jeff video I just did. Glad they managed to catch him in the end, thank God. But pretty much things go on as they were before he got put in prison. But anyway, Mary says 11 p.m. is a bit late for me, so I'm trying to think of where you're at. So you're 5 hours. Are you in UK? That's what I would think. But I'm awake. If I'm awake, I'll join you. Okay, or you can just put this on in the background and I can help you sleep. And that's what a lot of people do. Anyway, all right, so everybody can hear me fine, I hope. And I want to talk, first of all, if you've never been here before, or you've been here and you still haven't liked and subscribed, like and subscribe and hit the bell to get your notifications of the next show that's coming up or some video I've just put up. Also, if you'd like to be in the chat room and come to 8 lives per month, my chat rooms are live. They're live. The live only chat rooms are only for Patreons. Patreon people, patrons, shall we say, the patrons of Patreon. And that's because we like to have a pleasant community. Somebody just said the other day, you always get these hater remarks, and so someone said, I see all her live shows are closed to the public. I guess she doesn't like people who disagree with her. And no, I don't have a problem with that. But when you have a show that is live to the public in general, you get so many people in there that are just there to cause trouble, and you get bots and all that. So yeah, I put all my shows up for the public, and you can comment. But yeah, I keep my chat rooms pleasant. And so join Patreon. The link is below, and you can become a patron and join us in the chat room. Well, that's one way to put it, Loretta. We pay to play. It's $5 a month, so you won't go broke. I think it's a cup of coffee these days. And even if you can't make it to the chat rooms very often, the channel appreciates that you support the channel and the work that I do. So, and I thank you for that. Okay, everybody says they can hear me. Okay, now I'm getting hot. All right, now I want to address I want to talk about these haters, because some people, and this is important for you guys, out in the real world, you also, on Facebook sometimes, or Twitter, or wherever, you run into haters too. It's not just people who are on television or have YouTube channels. Everybody runs into haters, people that say mean things about them, gossip, and it can be very, very hurtful. And so just recently, I'm just going to explain one that happened to me recently. Somebody saw me, and if you remember, I think it was last week, that I had shown, I had a glass of tequila for the hangout, and I said this was my favorite tequila, Tres Generaciones, which is quite an expensive tequila, very, very smooth, and I described how it was. And somebody wrote, "Oh, she's a rich drunk, that's clear." And it's, you see that written about yourself. Somebody's calling you a rich drunk, and it's very, very hurtful. And so today, because of that, I am not going to drink Tres Generaciones. I'm not. No. I'm going to drink gas station Fireball cinnamon whiskey. All right. Can't call me rich. And that's how you deal with haters. Cheers. And there we go. I'm a poor drunk. Oh Lord. But this really is how you deal with haters. You can't take things to heart because they'll say all kinds of things about you. Sometimes they might actually be correct. And that usually does hurt more when people say something about you and you're like, yeah, it's kind of true. Maybe they say something about your looks or your weight or whatever. And you go, well, yeah, so, but the thing is, somebody's always going to say something. But the people who love you, your family, your friends, and if they say that kind of crap, you can eliminate them from their family or friends. Perhaps you don't want to hang around them. But, you have your people who care about you, and they don't say things like that to you. So you don't want to keep in company of that. And so what I always tell people, especially when they do have Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, block, because there's no reason for you to have to see this. Either you can just get off of the platform altogether if it's not doing you any good. And for your children, especially for your teens, do not let them just run on one of these platforms without any kinds of controls, because they do not take it well. So when somebody says to them something mean, they do take it to heart because they don't have the life experience to say that person's just, that's on them. That's the way they are. This isn't really about me. It's about their nasty little attitude and their ego problems. But your teenage kid can't do that. They're just not that. They're not that worldly. They haven't been through a lot. They get bent out of shape really quickly, and sometimes some of these children commit suicide. So if they're on any platform, you need to work with them to make sure that the only people that they communicate with are their friends. Not every kid in school, not 50-year-old guys, yeah, none of that. Make sure that their world is safe. Make sure your world is safe. And depending on how much it affects you, I mean, some people have to get off of platforms like YouTube and Twitter and stuff because they can't take the incoming grenades of hate. I've been around for so long, I'm used to it all. But here's something else that one can do, which is don't go look for trouble, because sometimes there's a place that talks about you. Like a lot of times on Reddit, which I do use to get some information, from different cases. Sometimes I do use Reddit, but I never put in profiler Pat Brown, because man, there's some people on Reddit who really, really say horrible things about me. And so I don't go there because it's just piles of insults. So I avoid places where I know the bad crowd is going to attack me. I just don't look. And that can help you. If you're an author, you have books out there. Let me tell you, that's tough when they give you that 1-star review and tell you they're the biggest piece of garbage ever and you can't write. And it may not be about your book. It may be about who you are. And they're just using the book as a methodology to get to you. And so sometimes what I've done with those things is sometimes I'll glance on Amazon, and if I see a 5-star review, I read. If I see a 1-star review, I just click off. It's like, I'm good. I don't need to see it. So just keep this in mind. This is very true. Bullies suck no matter what age. That's correct, Shirley. They absolutely do. Yeah. And Fairy Princess, I do read a good portion of my comments on YouTube, sometimes because I need to block them, but I also try to answer, when I can. And so far it's been fairly good on YouTube, but like you say, sometimes it's pretty nasty. But pay attention to yourself, pay attention to anyone who, anyone you're caring for, your grandchild. Really be cautious about social media because of that, because man, they're really getting sucked into it, and they can get negative about themselves so quickly, and it's really sad. So speaking of that, I want to tell you about this case, which just came up in the news. And by the way, I've got a lot of different news things, and then I'm going to talk about 2 different cases. And one is I was asked by one of my patrons to talk about the deaths of, darn, I wish I had looked this up as far as pronunciation, Arnold, Archambeau, and Ruby Bruguier. I don't quite know if that's anywhere close, by the way. So I'm going to call them, when I get to the story, Arnold and Ruby, to save myself from more embarrassment. So anyway, they're part of the Sioux tribe. And the question that I was asked is, sometimes indigenous people in certain areas don't seem to get the kind of proper investigation. So I want to talk about that today. And I'm also going to talk about the disappearance of Susanna Jane. I should look this one up too. Lamplugh. I mean, Lamplugh. If anybody's got a better way, this took place in the UK. I'm going to call her Susanna. I'm screwed to death. I didn't look them up. Anyway, she went missing, and there's a suspected killer, and the question is he the guy? And I want to talk about some issues with that. Both of these cases aren't big enough for me to do full videos on, but I'm going to address them here today. Okay. So, and if you want to, if you hear me say this completely wrong, you can always point a finger at me in a nice way. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I might have more Fireball, gas station Fireball cinnamon whiskey. And by the way, apparently, if you get the smaller bottle, it really doesn't have the proper ingredients in it. Somebody's running a scam. So anyway, I oddly like the stuff, which I'm not sure why. Anyway, all right. So what happened in this particular case is that this is a case of the internet. And so let me find it. Where'd it go? Dang it. What? Oh, come on. I mean, I hate to start the show losing stuff already, but I just lost stuff already. Seriously, how is this possible? Hold on one second. It really went missing, and I really like this one too. Okay, hold on. I got to go to my news, and I got to pull it down. I just end up with so much crap when you're doing this stuff. Okay, girl, teenager. I'm going to say teenager, found. Was it South Carolina or North Carolina? Let's see how close I come to this. All right, here we go. All right. Just got to guess what your Google should be. Family of North. Oh, sorry, that's not it. What did they just do to me? Oh, bums. Hold on a second. What did they just do? That was bizarre. Hold on a second. Did they just take that away from me? Well, that is really weird. Oh. If you're new to the channel, this is what happens. Okay. I have to do this over again because it just took away. Okay. So now I got to do it over again. I clicked on this and it didn't come up. Are we going to come up this time? My iPad must be on the fritz here. It's just not wanting to work. Huh. Okay, I'm going to try this one. Yeah, nothing. It's not working all of a sudden. Oh, this is so. Oh, how about this one? How about CNN? Come on now. One of these has actually got to work. Well, anyway, I really want you to know this one because it's just a. Come on. Now I'm gonna have to use my phone. Shoot, I tell you, I don't know what's going wrong. All right, I'm gonna put it in here. I'm gonna get you there. You just all chat and drink whatever you're drinking. You see how that works? Okay, what does it say? Dallas teen. Found. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to read it from here because for some reason, okay. All right, so here we go. Missing Dallas teen. Now, what happened with this teen? She's a 13-year-old girl. She was reported missing, 13. And this is why I really want you to hear this one. 13 years old. Reported missing in Dallas, was found. She was finally found, and she was found in North Carolina. She met a man on a social media platform. Okay. Again, 13-year-olds really shouldn't be on social media platforms unless they're tightly controlled. Okay. So let me find out what the guy was 34 years old. His name is Jorge even Santos Camacho. She was found. Let me show you where she was found. This is absolutely horrifying for this poor girl. And because somebody like the family did not watch carefully enough what she was doing online, she's going to suffer for the rest of her life. So this man lived here, but this is, you see that little shed to the right? Yeah, that's where she was found. Another girl in a shed like Dakota. And also, he was in South Carolina. Is this guy in South Carolina too? Wait a minute. It was in North Carolina. North Carolina. Okay. This guy's in the next state, but apparently sheds are useful places to keep the girls that you abduct and rape, because both of those happened. Now, what happened with this girl? How did he even get a hold of her? Let's see. Well, this story just says parents should monitor what their kids are doing online. I don't even know how she got from Dallas to North Carolina, but she did. And it just makes me so sad, because we don't live in a world that we used to live in. This is the world we live in now. Be realistic. Don't let your kids say, oh, it's not fair that I'm not allowed to go online. So what? So what? And you sit your kids down and you tell them exactly why. Be just truthful, straight up, tell them why, and tell them how you're going to protect them. Tell them how you're going to help them still have a good time, but not be in danger. You just have to work with them, but you also have to be the one making the rules, not work with them so that you negotiate, and they end up negotiating in their favor, which means since they're 13, they ain't that bright, so no, whatever you decide, there's no negotiation. What you can do is help them understand, and you can help set it up so it's pleasing enough to them. And you can offer them other things that can take up their time rather than being online. So you want to stay online all day long, or do you want to go ride horses? I think a lot of kids would prefer to ride the horses. But if you're not offered anything worthwhile doing, dance classes, horses, art, whatever, you're just going to go online because you got nothing else to do. And a lot of parents use it as a babysitter. So that's just an extremely sad thing. And it really drives me crazy. Yes, and there are indeed many predators out there. And the problem is, which is people don't understand, is they assume that all predators are disgusting, icky guys, So the girl's online, she's like, hey, she wouldn't go with this 34-year-old guy. It has to be, he's going to be creepy looking, and the old thing about the serial killer is going to have a hump in his back and all that kind of stuff. And it's not true. Let me show you this guy. This guy. Is that not a nice young man? Isn't he nice looking? He's a handsome guy. And here's another picture of him. And look at what it says. This is an online dating site. Let you know. Intelligent, funny, and outgoing. Oh my God. On a dating site, look how handsome he is. Intelligent, funny, and outgoing. Now read the bottom of this picture. Oh yeah, writeaprisoner.com. I kid you not, writeaprisoner.com. And this is his name is Nicholas Browning, and he gets this is a pen pal site on this Write a Prisoner place. You can have blogs, you can put your photos up. And let me read you what he says, because remember, I want you to look at him again. That's a good looking dude. Can you imagine being a young girl, 14, 15, 16, whatever age you are, even adult age, and seeing that guy and thinking, that guy is handsome, right? Okay. I want to read you what he wrote. All right. And I've said this before, and I think it's worth saying. I'm going to say it over and over again and on all my shows. If you go to any regular online dating site, half the guys there are creepy as all get out, and they can't write a decent profile, and you're already repulsed by them. Not true on a prison dating website. Those have the best profiles of anyone, because a good portion of them are psychopaths and they know how to play a game, and they played it. And they very carefully choose what they know will lure you in. Where a lot of people on regular websites are just, the regular dating sites are kind of stupid. They're like some guy who's not really attractive leaning up against his car going, hey, I got a car. Look at it. It's cool. And you're like, oh, Jesus, or some pitiful guy on his moth-eaten couch, with a wall behind him with peeling paint, doesn't work so well. But listen to this guy. Listen to it. I am above all looking for a good conversation. And I love how everybody in prison is just looking for a good conversation. Well, mostly because they can't do anything else unless they're able to get married in prison, then they can. But they start out with a good conversation because women like a guy who wants good conversation. Don't we? Okay, I am above all looking for a good conversation. I'm open to talking to anyone. As you can imagine, prison isn't overflowing with people with whom you want to confide. This has been my life since 2008, entering as a 15-year-old. And I've tried to avoid becoming irredeemably institutionalized. So now you go, oh my God, the guy was a 15-year-old kid, and now he's trying his best. I earned a bachelor's degree and an MBA in 2022. Now, that could be true because a lot of people in prison seem to get these deals that people who outside of prison can't even afford and are still paying off all the student loans. But this guy probably gets it for free. Or he's lying. We don't know which one. I spend most of my days reading, dabbling in this and that to satisfy my eclectic tastes. I like a little of everything, whether it's Voltaire, Dostoevsky, Gogol, Proust, Woolf, Don DeLillo, or David Foster Wallace. Man, that guy's well read. I want to date a guy who reads like this. I've found a lot of solace and wisdom. Though, alas, I'm still in desperate need of the latter. Oh, he's also, he's humble. He's humble. He says, hey, I'm still trying to be a good person, trying to become wise. So I'm found a lot of solace and wisdom in their different philosophies and worldviews. I take my pleasures in the little things now, rather conveniently, given my circumscribed privileges. Again, honest, isn't he? And music is certainly one of those. On the inevitable difficult days, a quiet afternoon in my cell with some good music is a diverting metaphorical escape. I'm partial to indie rock, Radiohead, MGMT, and Snail Mail would be a random but accurate representation of what I listen to most. I've tried my best to make some semblance of life here. I've been incredibly fortunate to have family and friends who have taught me so much and shown me so much love. They have helped me to grow beyond the scared, angry, and broken child I was. Pay attention to the last sentence. This is where I start laughing. I've been incredibly fortunate to have family and friends who have shown me so much love. Family and friends. All right, what is he in prison for? Would you like to know? Yeah, he's incarcerated for murder. You'd bet. Who did he murder? You know that family who shows him all that love? There ain't too many of them left because he killed 4 of them, his parents and his 2 siblings. That's the kind of guy he is. But see, you may not have seen the family annihilation coming. You may have thought it was a drug deal gone bad and he accidentally shot somebody. No, this guy's a psychopath and he's telling you that he's got love from his family. I'm like, which family do you think it could be? His mother's side or his father's side? I'm going to say they don't have any love for him at all. I don't know how many friends want to hang around him either. And you say, okay, maybe he's not really a psychopath. Okay. Let's look at what he actually did. All right. So what he did was he lived in Maryland near me, as a matter of fact. He murdered his parents and younger brothers in the winter of 2008. Browning's father, John, was a local attorney, and his mother, Tamara, was a stay-at-home mom. They enjoyed vacations at Deep Creek Lake. All right. What had happened? All right. John was Browning's father, and he was sleeping on the sofa on the ground floor, and he was shot by Nicholas. All right. And let's see, his mom, she was killed by Nicholas upstairs along with his younger brothers. So it was reported by classmates that he often hit his younger brother. So he wasn't necessarily a nice guy to his brothers. All right. What happened? All right. The murder weapon used by Nicholas Browning to kill his parents and 2 younger brothers was his father's handgun. Stupid daddy. Stupid daddy. Your son, there's signs that he's a psychopath. And even if there weren't, why does he have access to a weapon? So, Dad, I'm going to say you're partly responsible for what happened. You got your wife and your 2 sons killed. I don't feel as sorry for him. I don't, because first of all, your guns should be locked up or on your body. Those are the 2 choices. And by the way, don't go into a whole comment section on guns, okay? All right. I do happen to own weapons. Mine are locked up or on my body. They're not available to children. They're not available to anybody. And especially if I had a psycho kid in my house, you don't leave that crap around for that psycho kid to get a hold of. That's insane. So that was pretty stupid. Anyway, after he shot his family, I threw the gun away in bushes near his house because he wasn't too bright. The gun was later recovered and used as evidence in the trial. Now, what do you think he did after he threw the gun away? Am I right? So he threw the gun away, and then he went to a party, which is what you do when you kill your family. All Friday night and all Saturday he spent with friends, even inviting them to party at his own house. Mm-hmm. So, and when he was in jail, he called a friend who, I don't know what friend if you have a friend who gets killed his family, unfriend him. You can do it on Facebook, do it in your life. Nicholas was heard saying, "I hate justice. You need to break in here and break me out." He has zero remorse for what he did. Okay. He actually joked about it all. Yeah. So he is now sentenced to 4 life terms with a possibility of parole in 23 years with good behavior. I'm sure he's working on that. So wait a minute. When did he do this? Let's look at this. Okay, it's 15. He can be out when he's 38. Did I do that right? That's scary. That's scary. And he committed this crime in 2008. So, yeah, maybe 10 more years. And he's already showing really good behavior in prison by writing to all these people and saying, and reading books and getting degrees. I want to let you know, reading books and getting degrees and sounding sweet does not take away psychopathy. It does not. Once a psychopath, always a psychopath. The only difference is certain psychopaths can learn not to be violent because it benefits them. So that I just thought was a really interesting story. And again, you look at this picture and you go, that's a nice looking guy. I mean, if he, girls online, she sees him, she might want to date him. Yeah. Well, I guess he only killed his family. So there's that. Oh, Lord. And that's good. Gun safes. Yeah, that's the way it should be. So let's not go there because that turns political, and I'm trying to avoid going through all of that here because I don't do politics on this channel. But I thought that was really interesting. Now, speaking of people who may have personality disorders, yes, we have to go. We must go because I cannot. Now, most of you know that I have spoken up pretty strongly against the girl who claims she's the Polish girl claims she's Maddie. And I've also spoken up pretty strongly against Fia, the psychic / private investigator / scammer. And I did that because I had hoped that information about this woman would get out there. Okay. So people would see my video, see other people's videos, not just mine, anybody's videos about this Fia woman. And especially her, because what she is doing is she is the one that's now promoting this whole story because the girl herself is not that bright. So she went on Instagram and claimed she might be Madeleine McCann. But until Fia showed up to then exploit her, and she doesn't mind being exploited because she is sure benefiting from it. And now it continues to be in the news nonstop. And I don't see any news channel. And mind you, all the news channels that talk about this suck. All right. Let's just go straight there. They suck. They don't deserve to be called, not even channels, just news outlets. The Star, complete garbage rag. Radar Online, complete garbage rag. I don't even think they pay anybody to write their crap, but they don't care about the truth, because the simple fact that there is a profiler out there saying something, and I'm sure other people who have some credentials saying something about this, we are not being, our words are not getting out to the public, because they're not the words that these people who are out to make money, which is the media, they don't want something to shut it down. They want to keep exploiting it because there's more money to be made. Okay, so let's look at there's two articles I want to look at, because this is how outrageous it is and how stupid it is. All right, so the first one is, this is from Radar, which again is garbage. Madeleine McCann claimants death threat terror. Oh my God, she's terrified. California authorities launch investigation into sex traffickers' assassination plot. Since it's almost impossible these days to get anybody for absolute libel. So that's what, so this is the nonsense that comes out in the papers, because they just don't care. Now, let me read you the article, because it's so stupid. Okay, hold on. I got to find it now. Don't tell me I've lost that one too. Really? What is going on today? Oh, here we go. I found it. All right. What does it say? And you're going to see in here where they're big fat liars in that headline. But they don't care, because they make a headline to catch your attention, and then they make their money. And I'm going to call out the idiot who wrote this, Douglas Montero. You suck. You wrote stuff is garbage, and you don't actually get facts. And so basically you're out there. I don't know if they pay you for this or don't, but you're making them money, and you're trying to get a name for yourself. You don't really seem to care whether you tell the truth. All right. Authorities in California have launched an investigation into a series of death threats against the Polish woman claiming to be Madeleine McCann. This is radaronline.com can exclusively reveal. The bombshell revelation comes as new evidence. Where's the new evidence? I want to know what a new evidence is. It's a Fia evidence. Fia Johansson. She just makes up evidence. Was she that Julia? I don't like to give her last name. She's 21 years old. Was most likely a victim of sex traffickers. This is how you get out of saying being sued for libel. She said most likely. They said most likely. Most and likely, and together most likely, which means they're not saying she was actually trafficked. They're just saying it was most likely. And that's an opinion, you see. All right. And there is growing fear. Who's growing fear? Oh, I think it's Julia and Fia. Okay. There is growing fear. Criminal organizations are trying to eliminate her to protect their nefarious operation. Look, Julia says she can't even remember her first 5 years of life. I don't think she could remember who took her or prove anything, because it's so stupid. Yeah. Okay. Dr. Fia Johansson, who is not a doctor of anything. So there you have another lie in here. The private investigator, and she is not a private investigator either, who whisked Wendell from Poland. I had to use her last name. Damn it. I don't even know if it's real. Okay. To an undisclosed safe house. A safe house. Are we running from the cartel? Apparently we are. So apparently these sex traffickers are after her, and they have to hide her in a place that's undisclosed because they're trying to assassinate her. This is beyond idiotic. You want to write a movie plot? Fine. But you put this in what's supposed to be news, it's disgusting. All right, let's see. Undisclosed safe house. And Fia Johansson, who's not a doctor and not anything else but a fake and a fraud, immediately notified American authorities about the threats, fearing sex trafficking crime bosses will dispatch operatives to silence the high-profile victim. The girl knows nothing. She doesn't even seem to know who she is. But I don't think they're going to assassinate the fake Maddie. Come on now. They're going to dispatch operatives. I'm sorry. I may have to drink more of the gas station whiskey. Oh my God. All right. Now the threats. I'm going to say there may be online threats. Somebody's saying, blah, 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 blah. And everybody knows those are meaningless, okay? So now let's look at the investigation. It's going to come up. I can confirm a report was filed. A spokesperson for a county sheriff's department confirmed, declining to comment further. All right. I can confirm a report was filed. Oh, I bet a report was filed. That's not an investigation. Lots of people file reports. A lot of them are false reports, which this one is. And they just file it. And then the police go, then they file it in their circular file, or put it someplace where that doesn't see the light of day ever again. They don't start an investigation on it when it's ludicrous. Okay. I'm sure they're not wasting their time doing it. But it says here, Radar Online was asked not to reveal the jurisdiction of the department to prevent traffickers from knowing the general location of Wendell's safe house. Because they're going to be coming in as soon as they find out which sheriff department. They're going to get in there and they're going to show up in the night and take that girl out. But Dr. Johansson, told Radar Online the sheriff investigators took the complaint seriously. And, Fia, she has a lot of things that she says happens. Oh, they did this. Oh, they believe us. Da, 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 da. She's a fat liar. Okay? They took the complaint seriously after reading the various online threats, which included a bounty for Wendell's head. Yeah, right. We went to the police here and they had conducted a long interview with Julia. They got all the information about the online threats and all the videos sent to Julia, the emails, direct messaging from all her social media accounts. Now they got a whole bunch of crap to throw in that circular file because they were like hell. They want to read through all that garbage. We gave them everything because they think, she says, they think sex traffickers are likely the ones targeting her. Yeah, no, only people targeting her, people that are pissed off that she's a big fat fake and so is Fia. That's it. They take it very, very seriously when it comes to traffickers. Yeah, real traffickers, not fake garbage. All right. They received so many links that they are starting an investigation and told us the threats originated from the UK and some from the United States. Okay, I thought the sex traffickers grabbed her. They had to grab her in, let's see, Madeleine McCann went missing in Portugal. And then she ended up in Poland. What the hell does this have to do with sex traffickers in the UK and the United States? I'm going to mostly say that because it's in English, the information going out online, like myself, I speak English. So I have more viewers of my channel who speak English and other languages. So yes, you probably have more people from the UK and the US noticing this idiocy and saying maybe some unfriendly things because maybe they deserve them because there's not one shred of proof. Now, let's go on to the other article, which is, my goodness, let's see. Okay, let me find it. Oh, here we go. Okay, found this one. All right, here she is. Now Julia's in Hollywood. She said this is the first time she feels she has a family that cares. My kids and my dog love her angelic personality. So she's living with Fia now in Hollywood. Actually, Fia doesn't exactly live in Hollywood, but they got to make sure that the cartels look in the wrong place. The sex traffickers. A woman claiming to Madeleine McCann finally has a family that cares. So this comes from The Star, which is probably should just be. No, I better not say that. They might start an investigation on me. All right. Dr. Fia Johansson. Oh, yes, another lie again. Because not one of these media outlets puts doctor in front of her name with zero proof. A private detective, again, zero proof. And a self-professed medium. That's the only thing that's correct. She's self-professed everything. Who's probing Julia's claim and says Julia told her that she feels now like it's the first time she has a family that cares. You know why? Because Fia is using you, Julia, because Fia is getting massive advertising. She loves using you. You're her new little pet pawn. Mm-hmm. But of course, Julia doesn't care because she likes being a pet, because she's getting attention too. And both of them, I'm going to say, have a personality disorder that loves attention. All right. So she's currently living in a safe house in the U.S. after receiving the death threats. Oh, yes, of course she is. Let's see what else I say about it, about this, her new life. Let's see. Oh, Julia's now enjoying the Hollywood Walk of Fame because, she wants to be a singer and she wanted to be a model, but now I have seen her singing. She's okay. She doesn't sing badly. I don't lie about people. Like, she doesn't sing badly. She just doesn't sing extraordinarily. And what that means is to become a star, to become a music star, you got to have something super special. She could sing. She might be very well sing in a show, like a local production. She might sing in a local club. She could probably do that. But to become a star is a whole different thing, and I don't think she's got quite that level. As far as modeling goes, she's kind of blown up. And yes, there are a lot of heavier models these days for body positivity and all that. But I'm not saying she couldn't do it, because I've seen a lot of models these days that aren't like the models that they used to be. That's all I can say. Anyway, so let's see. Julia's family now has apparently blocked her phone number because they're sick of her. Dr. Johansson and her team. Who the heck who's the team now? I'm wondering who the team is. She keeps talking about the team. I'm sure it's like 2 people plus maybe one friend who's willing to go out to lunch. Have been in, the city that Julia supposedly grew up, and I can't pronounce it, Wroclaw or something like that, where she said they found no hospital records for Julia relating to the first 5 years of her life. She's confident, now they call her an investigator, Julia is not who her family would have you believe. So we're still conducting an investigation, but Julia is definitely not the biological daughter of her parents in Poland. Now, here's the thing. Can she say that if she doesn't know it's true? And I'm pretty sure she has zero proof that Julia is not the biological daughter of her parents. Zero proof. But what you going to do about it? She can say that, and later on she can say, well, we're shocked. We're shocked, and we still should have sympathy. And she'll go right on her way, because apparently it's very hard to take these people down because there's too many people making money off of lies. So anyway, now she says that the last thing, we have a lot of evidence right now that shows Julia was definitely trafficked to Poland from another country by an international sex trafficking gang. Now, mind you, think about this. Some people, like Scotland Yard, seem to believe that Madeleine McCann might have been kidnapped by a sex trafficking ring. And how much time went by where they came up with absolutely zero? But no, Thea, within just a month or so, she's been able to figure out where the sex trafficking gangs were. I mean, because this is her field, right? She works with sex trafficking. She's Scotland Yard. It's nonsense. Nobody. I mean, if I went there to try to figure it out, and I have been a private investigator legitimately, and I'm a profiler legitimately, I have no freaking clue how I'm going to find out who the sex trafficking gang is. That's ludicrous. I would have to truly get a huge team, work with actual people who understand sex trafficking. I mean, as far as who it is, because I'm in a country I don't even know. I might be able to do a little bit in the U.S., but probably get myself killed. But like, you're going to go over to these other countries, run around Europe and just figure it all out in 4 weeks. If people fall for this stuff, it's just sad. So absolutely ridiculous. I'll look at your comments while I can get myself back together here. Oh, Lord Almighty. Let's see. Oh, Loretta, you're the Lindbergh baby? Yes, I'm female, but that's just a detail. Oh, we have been looking for you. We sure have. Oh, my goodness. And this is very true, Michaela. Hitler said, make a lie big, make it big and tell it often, and people will believe. But here's what really works. When the media backs you 100% and doesn't ever question you, because questioning kills the money stream. That's what it does. I mean, my video is out there, and I object to people using my video. However, my information is there. And, I rarely give interviews to garbage rags like the Star, right? I won't do it because because they'll edit me and they'll misquote me. But if they really wanted to put out information that was accurate, they do have access to this channel and that video. They can watch the video, and they can take information from the video, and they can say, criminal profiler Pat Brown says. They could do that. But do they? No, because that will kill the income stream. Because the story right now, the agenda they have is to push this as long as they can, because people are fascinated by it. And unfortunately, a whole bunch of people believe this garbage is true. And all the information I put out about Fia in my video, it's not enough to take her down. It isn't, because none of the major media channels will do anything about it. They could look at my stuff. I don't care if they learn from me if I put all the stuff about it in there. They take that and they do their own investigation, and they go out there and say, here's what we've learned. Bully for them. That's fine. But they're not going to do it because they're going to ruin their money. They're going to ruin their money, and they don't like doing that. So let's see. Anybody has that is a definite circus, if that's what you're talking about. There's a lot of news channels out there, and not news media out there, which the Sun, the Star, Daily Mail. I actually say the Daily Mail I actually do use, because a lot of times they have accurate, brand new information on crimes that have just occurred. That doesn't mean they don't go off the rails and do a bunch of stupid shit too. But at least they got some useful stuff. But my God, especially what's happened too is, since so much has gone online, as I pointed out last time, they don't even hire. They just get people to write articles for them and the people who write the articles aren't getting paid, or they're getting paid so little, they're not going to do tons of research. So they don't. They'll take a story from anybody and throw it right up there, and they don't care. Forbes doesn't care. Radar Online doesn't care. They just want content, 24-hour-a-day content online, because advertisers are on those pages. They make a killing. They don't pay anybody, or they pay so little it's sad. But because they don't pay and have true journalists anymore, they don't care what's put out there. They don't. And the difficulty you have actually going after libel lawsuits is, you better be a millionaire, because you can't afford to do it. So, and on that note, this is an interesting one. Netflix beats defamation suit over making a murder docu-series. Oh, yes, they did. Netflix beat it. You know why Netflix beat it? Because they're Netflix. All right, let me tell you what happened, because how many times I said, you got to watch out for these documentaries, because they will libel you. They will have an agenda, and they'll leave out information. They'll twist information to make the story they want to make. That makes them money. Now, that's why I refused to do the one that was recently on American Shanquella, the 2021. I refused to do it because I couldn't get any proof from them they were going to do it correctly, or what they were using me for. Interestingly enough, there's another one coming out on Dateline, which is going to be the prosecution's take on the case. And the son of Anderson Cotter, who still believes that Chris Johnson, the guy who was found not guilty in court, and you see that in the documentary from 2020, his and the other one, and Dateline is going to present that viewpoint. It's not going to be balanced. I have to say, neither side was particularly balanced. I certainly haven't been called by Dateline. That's not happening. They don't want me there. And if they did, I wouldn't do it, because I'd do the show, and then they would edit me and make me look like a damn fool, so that they could say, see, here's a profiler who said all these things, and she's an idiot. And clearly that Chris Johnson, who the court found not guilty, that the jury found not guilty, is guilty. That's what they're going to push, or they're going to at least make it a mystery. All right. So making a murderer. which is the biggest garbage I've ever seen and the biggest agenda-driven, defense-driven show I've ever seen, that so played with all the evidence and so manipulated everything to make the police look like they were crooked and to make the prosecutor look like he was garbage, and that this piece of crap, Stephen Avery, was not guilty, which he is guilty as hell, and is one of the most evidence-laden cases that support his guilt that I've ever seen. But Netflix made a killing off of it. All right. So a federal judge threw out a defamation suit brought by a retired police officer who argued that Netflix docuseries Making a Murderer falsely accused him of planting evidence. In a ruling on summary judgment on Friday, Judge Brett Ludwig, I won't make comments, I don't know who he is, found for, hold on a second, I just clicked on something. Okay, wait a minute. Come back. Okay, found for the plaintiff. Found that the plaintiff, Andrew Colburn, had failed to show that Netflix or filmmakers had acted with actual malice in crafting their portrayal of him. Now, here's what happens. And this is what, in the Anderson Cotta case, supposedly Chris Johnson, who is the guy who was found not guilty, is supposedly suing the police and prosecutor, which I totally agree with. However, do you know what the standard is for suing a prosecutor for taking a case to court with not enough evidence and destroying your life? You know what it is? It's not that they failed to prove you were guilty. It's not that they had a shabby case. It's not that any of that. You have to prove malice. So the only times usually that you can win one of these cases is if the prosecutor, if let's say the defendant was, or let's say had run for mayor, and the prosecutor had run for mayor, and the other guy won, and then he's accused of something, and now the prosecutor's like, I'm going to get him because he got the mayorship and I didn't. Then you have proof of malice. But barring that, stupidity, whatever, doesn't do it. Now, Netflix, they didn't have actual malice. They just were trying to show things as they were. Oh, sweet and wonderful Netflix, who has, you know how many lawyers Netflix has? Yeah. They've got a battalion of lawyers. And none of their lawyers said, don't do this. What they did was analyze and say, how can we have you do this and not be accused of having malice? That's what they did. So anyway, he filed suit in 2018, arguing he had been subjected to worldwide ridicule by the series, and that's accurate. The suit alleged that Making a Murderer distorted the facts, absolutely accurate, altered testimony, absolutely accurate, and omitted key information, absolutely accurate, to falsely portray Colburn as a corrupt officer who planted evidence. Then they said this, as a police officer, Colburn is a public figure. He must show that the filmmakers either knew what they were saying about him was false or showed reckless disregard as to whether it was false. Well, first of all, you're a police officer. That's not like being a movie star or something like that. I mean, even I am more of a public figure than this poor schmuck who was just a police officer. When he did his job, he wasn't any public figure. He did his job as a detective, went home at night to his wife and kids. He didn't do news reports or anything. He's just a regular citizen who was a police officer. They're trying to claim he's a public figure. He was never a public figure. So in his ruling, Ludwig found that he failed to meet the standard, that he had to show that they had wanton disregard and that they knew what they were saying was false. Well, you know why he can't prove it? Because he's not in that meeting room with the lawyers and the Netflix team. He knows it's true, but he can't prove it. And let me tell you, that happens all the time where you can't prove something that is absolutely true. And you think, I don't even know how the hell this guy afforded to even have a lawsuit against Netflix. I mean, is he living under a bridge now? Because my God, he must be broke as hell. I mean, So anyway, he took issue with 52 separate instances of alleged defamation, 52 of them. And the judge found that his complaints amounted to media criticism, better suited to the op-ed section. I may have to do an entire separate show on this. I'm so pissed. That is so appalling. absolutely appalling. Because if Netflix had brought in any reasonable person to analyze this case, like myself, Stephen Avery is guilty as hell. I mean, absolutely hands down guilty. If they brought me in and said, Pat Brown, we want you to do the show, but we want to find out what you think first, I would have told them, look, there's like so much evidence pointing to him being guilty that there's no question. They would have just kicked me aside and found somebody else, but they would know the truth, and they knew the truth. They can't tell me they didn't know the truth. This is how these production companies work. These huge companies. So anyway, let's see. So what happened to this poor guy? Oh, here's this. The defense had argued making a murderer ought to be protected under the fair report privilege, which gives journalists the power to cover accusations, even false ones, made at trials. Oh, so they can cover the false ones, even though, so they can put all the false accusations in there, but just never say quite where they came from, you see. Oh, Lord. Ludwig was not willing to go that far, however, finding that the series is not always even-handed in its presentation. That's the most you can say, not even-handed. There wasn't anything on one hand at all. There was all on this hand. I mean, what the hell are you talking about, you piece of... I better not defame the judge. You're a public figure, Judge. All right. Oh, my God. I'm going to have to do a whole separate thing on this because, oh, my God. Judge concluded with the defense of the First Amendment right to negative portrayals. In the end, Coburn's turn in making a murderer may not have been to his liking, but that does not make it defamatory. Yes, it does, if it's not. I mean, yeah, okay. If media could portray us only at our best, we would be a country of antiseptic caricatures and less intelligent for it. We have not sunken that low just yet. No, Netflix has sunken so low because they care about money more than anything else. And Judge, some people will say you've been paid off to support Netflix. And if you do end up with a beautiful house in the Bahamas, I'm going to wonder where it came from. Not that I'm saying that you were bribed or corrupt. I'm just saying I think your ruling sucks really badly. And that's why it's horrific. Oh, Lord. Yeah. So about drove me over the edge there, that one. Craziness. Oh, Lord. Okay, maybe I should do something light so I don't have to be so pissed off. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to do those two cases in a minute. I want to mention this one. This is the people who were killed in Matamoros, Mexico. There were 4 people who went over the border, 3 guys and a woman. 2 of them were shot to death in supposedly a mistaken identity thing by the cartel. And I did pose some questions last time. As I'm a little skeptical about the real reason for crossing the border. The woman was supposedly going for a tummy tuck, but a tummy tuck takes 10 days of her being there, and she supposedly has 4 friends with her. And instead of getting the tummy tuck in her own state, which would have cost twice as much, but by the time she paid for a rental vehicle to drive all the way to the border and then is she paying for everybody else's hotel rooms and food and everything else and the gas? I'm going to say you didn't save much, and you better just stay home. And I was like, how do 4 other people have nothing to do for an entire week? And Matamoros is not exactly that's not a holiday location. At least go to Cancun for your tummy tuck. You go to Matamoros, unless you like local culture and street food. I mean, I probably would like it, but yeah, something fishy about that whole thing. But anyway, I don't know that that's true. Maybe she just has great friends who just decide to jump on board with her and go down to Mexico and all that. But anyway, so 2 of them got killed, and the cartel, the Gulf cartel, turned over. Oops, wrong picture. The Gulf Cartel. Where are you, Gulf Cartel? Gulf Cartel. Here you are. Gulf Cartel turned over 5 dudes. Gulf Cartel said on Thursday they had turned over 5 members of that gang and insists they were responsible for the kidnapping and murder of Americans south of the border. Oh my God, aren't they great? And they also they left this letter to say that these 5 members were responsible for it, and they were really sorry about that, and they didn't tell these guys to do it. These guys screwed up, and therefore we're turning them over. Do you? This is the Gulf Cartel. I mean, they're great people. They turned over 5 of their own because I'm going to say they found 5 guys they hated and said, "We'll ditch these guys and we'll blame them, and they're not going to be able to do anything about it. And we're going to apologize because this has become a 2-country thing, and we don't want to get caught in the middle of it." Even if we did actually do it, and even if it actually isn't true, it's just an accident type of thing. We're just gonna sacrifice these 5 guys because maybe they're people we don't like anyway. And America and the United States and Mexico are probably going, because they're trying to tone things down too, to a great extent. About Mexico certainly doesn't like to think that people come over the border for medical procedures and get murdered. So in America and the United States, they also want to say these were just tourists. So I'm not sure that Mexico is going to eventually come out, and I just want some. I want some pieces of information. I do. These 5 from South Carolina, 4 of them over the border, may be innocent, just totally innocent people who made some really stupid choice to go to Matamoros, but there's things that just don't quite add up. I'm still curious whether Mexico will ever say anything, or they're going to say, I want to know, was she really getting a tummy tuck? Or is she getting a 1-day liposuction, which means everybody comes in and goes out in a day, which is a totally different thing, and maybe for a totally different reason. So I don't know if I'll ever know the truth, but I'm going to say I don't buy a minute that the cartel just being really great guys by giving up these 5. You poor suckers. They just got rid of you. They did. And there's a family who's very upset about what's going on because their daughter, Shanquella Robinson, she went to Mexico with some friends. And this actually was a video showing her being attacked in her hotel room. It's quite a sad thing. And so originally her friends claimed she had food poisoning and died from that, but turned out to be that was a lie. So there's an extradition order coming from Mexico to bring the woman now who's in the U.S. back to Mexico for let me see if I can find it here. For charges, and so they wrote this letter. Given the nature and scope of this case, we believe that diplomatic intervention from the U.S. government could help facilitate the necessary cooperation. In other words, to bring the person home who was responsible for Shanquella's death. And they're frustrated because they're like, hey, everything's happening with what's happening in Matamoros. But since December, we've been fighting to get this case, to get this person arrested. Was a female, was with her and is in that video. We want her arrested and charged, and we want her to be prosecuted. And, she came back to the U.S., so they have to get extradition. But she's pissed because she thinks they're paying way more attention to what happened in Matamoros than they are for my daughter who was murdered. And then she does make a comment. It's probably because, she didn't make this comment. Somebody else did, and it's true. Probably because it's an American getting killed by an American. Yes, that's not a political issue. Unfortunately, Shanquella, is that her name? Sorry, wrong picture. Shanquella. Shanquella went down to Mexico with some people that weren't the greatest, and something horrible happened to her, and it is terrible and horrifying, but it's not a political issue between 2 countries. So Mexico is looking at this as a standard homicide type thing, and they have to go through the process of eventually hopefully getting the extradition. But no, it's never going to be at the level of the Matamoros thing because it's not political. It's, so yes, when you get killed in another country, it gets a little tricky, So yeah, a little tricky. So my one fun thing before I'll do this couple case things I want to talk about is I have to do one of these. It's just it's a dear Annie, and I just love some of the answers. I'm always amazed at why this advice is being given this way. Dear Annie, I have been married to my husband for 50 years. Now pay attention. If she's been married to her husband for 50 years, that means she's probably 70 years old. During that time, I've been close to my husband's family. Over the years, the family has grown and our get-togethers have been less frequent. Okay, so everybody, it's not like when you just get married. I mean, when I just got married to my husband, my family was here, his family was here. We did a whole bunch of stuff together. And then time went on and people moved and had kids and we got together when we could, whatever. So over the years, our family has grown and our get-togethers have grown less frequent. I had a friendship with my husband's brother's wife. Okay, so husband's brother's wife. My sister-in-law, who occasionally has a gathering in which she has included her own adult daughters and one single niece. But she has excluded my daughter and other adult children. So I'm not going to read the rest, but she's very upset that her daughter isn't invited to this thing. And she's like, and she calls this woman up, actually, and she says, her daughter was upset she wasn't invited, and when other people had been, and she said, oh, so she calls her up and says, why isn't my daughter invited? Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, the answer is from Annie. She sounds, so the woman gets kind of pissed off at this pressure she's getting to invite this woman's daughter. It's her sort of sister-in-law's daughter, so it's a niece, but kind of far removed-ish, and she's being pressured into having to invite her to her events. And a lot of times she wasn't inviting everybody. She was just inviting her own daughters and one other cousin. That's not exactly, like you're being left out. And so then she said, even if she was upset with you for asking that your daughter come to a family get-together, she should have better manners, blah, 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 blah. Okay. If you're 70, your daughter is 50 years old. She's a grown-up. Let her fight her own damn battles. She shouldn't have her mommy go out there and harass her relatives. Why didn't you invite my daughter? Seriously, she's 50. She's not 8. Okay? And on top of that, maybe there's a reason they don't want to invite your daughter. Maybe your daughter is a bunch of a pain in the ass as you are. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's a certain event they might invite her, but other times they're just happy not to have her there. When you invite people to your house, you get to invite whom you want in your house. Not everybody that feels like showing up. If you have a party, you get to choose the participants. If you have I've seen people do this too, where you invite somebody over to your house for a dinner. Let's say, you invite 2 couples. All right, so you're going to have sitting around the table, you got 6 seats. You're going to have 2 couples on either side, and you and your husband or wife, whatever. And one of those couples shows up with a couple extra people and says, oh, yeah, these are my whatever. You can say, I'm sorry. I didn't cook enough food, and really, I just invited 6 of you guys. So I would tell them, maybe you need to leave, unless you're one of these cultures that you can bring everybody and we've got 700 pounds of food, in which case it's okay. But anybody showing up at somebody else's house shouldn't impose on them unless they understand that they're not imposing. So I just thought this advice is ridiculous. A mommy having to tell her other 70-year-old relative, you have to invite my 50-year-old daughter. Oh, Lord God. I mean, really? I agree. It's weird that a 50-year-old will make an issue of such a thing. If she does go now, how awkward would it be? Yeah, I mean, and she's not wanted. I mean, if somebody doesn't invite me, the last place I want to show up is there. And maybe, think about this. Let's be realistic about our own selves. Not all of my relatives like me as much as they like other people. Maybe they don't like my personality. Or maybe there's people who show up and they're very political. Or there's people that show up and they're drunk when they show up. Or there's people who show up and they're rude. Whatever their issues are. Or maybe they just don't mesh well with whoever is there. Sometimes you pick a specific group that fit, and then another time you pick a different group. You don't put those two groups together because they don't fit at all. So you have separate parties for different times and different people. So, if somebody doesn't invite me, I'm not showing up. I'm going to let them have their time with the people that they're comfortable with at that particular get together. And if they invite me another time, well, that's very sweet. And if I really want to be around them, well, why don't I just invite them over? Why don't I invite them to go out, meet me at a restaurant or something? But, to have the gumption to just say, hey, you have to invite me and you have to invite my daughter, 50-year-old daughter. Oh, Lord. And this is why I have cats. Speaking of animals, there was somebody who was very upset because this guy said, this is another one of these things. He said, I have a friend and he's been a great friend. And I always invited him to all my get-togethers. And he has like football get-togethers and stuff like that are in the house. Well, his friend has diabetes and just got a service dog that's supposed to recognize diabetes issues, right? He wants to bring his dog to every one of his friend's events. His friend says, I don't want the dog in my house. I don't like, the dog is a shedder. I don't want dog hair in my house. I don't even like dogs. I just don't want them running around in there. I want this to be the get together I want without the dog. And he suggested to the guy that could you just leave the dog at home and use some other tools to make sure your diabetes is in control for whatever few hours that is. But the guy wouldn't do it. And he said, well, if you don't let me come with my dog, you're no friend of mine. I'm like, wow, you just assume that you have the right to do this and you don't. And maybe you have to meet him someplace else. Again, maybe you have to meet outside and go to a picnic together or maybe, whatever. But the dude doesn't want the dog in his house. He has every right to say that. It doesn't mean he doesn't like you. It just means that you have not right to impose the dog on him. I know there's guide dogs for the blind and so on and so forth. And, each one of these cases has to be taken separately. But the guy tried to offer all kinds of solutions. And the guy said, well, don't let my dog in. I'm not ever coming. We're just not going to be friends anymore. That's a sad thing. Sad things. Yeah, it's rude to bring your animals to family dinners. I think that is weird too. I do. I mean, unless they say okay. I mean, if they say okay, then that's fine. Some people don't mind having a doggy visit, but my house is off limits to the cute little doggy next door, which is my daughter's dog, my granddaughter's dog. I adore that dog, and I go over there and he sits on my lap and I pat him and all that stuff. I'm outside, I play with him. But whenever he comes into a few times he's snuck into my house, he goes right to my sofa and pees on it. And then I have dog pee on my sofa. I don't want him in my house because it's not my dog. Not my dog, So, Aunt Linda, I have to bring my pot-bellied pig to the reunion. Okay, now wait a minute. I've had a pot-bellied pig for 20 years. So, yeah, I would bring my pot-bellied pig. I love my pot-bellied pig. But people are scared crapless of my pot-bellied pig because it was 200 some pounds, Oh, goodness. Okay, I want to go to the two stories about the first story I want to talk about is let's talk about the U.S. first. Everybody's asleep in the U.K., so it won't matter. So I'll go to the U.S. first. And this is a couple that they were. Let me find the story. Okay, they were from the Sioux? Was it Sioux? The Sioux tribe. They lived in South Dakota, and this young man, he was a member of the Yankton Sioux tribe, raised on the reservation. And raised by his grandmother after his mother's death in his teens. And he was working and played basketball and all that stuff. Well, anyway, he met this girl here, and I'm going to call her by her first name, Ruby. She's 18, he was 20. All right, so he met her and they were together. And then there's this little girl that they had, this baby. Okay, so now those two decided to go out with another friend. They were out partying. They partied all. Oh, sorry, wrong one. They partied all night long with this other girl. Her name is Tracy. She is a 17-year-old cousin. So they were out partying. Got to be like 6 a.m. They went home and they went to pick up the baby, and like the guys watching the baby said, "Hey, you've been drinking. No, don't take the baby. Just come back and leave the baby here." Might have been a good idea if he told them to come in and lay on the floor. But anyway, they left, and he kept the baby. So that's a good thing for the baby, actually, because they left in a car, and the driver lost control of the car. Okay. The car flipped. All right. And let me see what it says here. Yeah, the car flipped over, and I had a picture here, but I don't think you can see it for crap. Anyway, the girl here, where is she? Where's the girl goes? Yeah, this girl. She heard everybody, she heard the other girl screaming, like, I gotta get out. Anyway, because they were both trapped in the car, and the other girl got out and opened the door, and she crawled out, because the car's upside down. She crawled out, and then she shut the door. So this girl was trapped in there. So anyway, but she never knew what happened to the guy. The guy just kind of like, she didn't know what even happened to him. Anyway, the girl got rescued. This girl got rescued. And then they went to look for the other two, and they could not find them. All right. So they just vanished at that point. And their bodies were found. This happened, by the way, on New Year's Eve. Their bodies were found in a water-filled depression. And so it was frozen. It was like cold, right? Because we're talking New Year's Eve. So we're talking, oh no, sorry, not your New Year's Eve. It was what day? December 12th. Sorry, December 12th. So the area, they were out there looking for the couple, and because they never came home, and obviously something had happened to them, and things were frozen over. They looked and looked and looked. They even looked in this ditch here next to the road and did not find them. Now, what happened was, and this was back in December, all right? So for 3 months, they didn't have any idea what happened to them. Then March 1993, the ice started breaking and all that. Their bodies were found in a water-filled depression between the accident site and a disused railroad right-of-way. Cause of death was determined to be exposure. All right. So the two bodies were in this water, okay, in this ditch, and they found the girl's body first, and she was still wearing the clothes she had worn that night, and she was fairly decomposed. And then they found the boy's body, and he wasn't as decomposed. They thought that was really strange, because one more, one less, what the heck? And they weren't sure about the clothing, because nobody knew what he was wearing. So it was figured that for whatever reason, remember, they were pretty much trash drunk, I'm going to say. And when the car flipped, the two of them ran. Now, I think the guy ran because he didn't want to get, the police would come and he would be found. I don't guess that's his reasoning. I don't know. And the girl seemed to run after him because he was gone first. Then the girlfriend was after, and the other girl was stuck in the car. So those two ran off and ended up in this ditch. Now, Occam's razor comes in here again, which I talked about with the Ray Rivera case, which, check out that video. Occam's razor, what is the most likely thing to have happened? Well, the most likely thing is it's December. They're very drunk. They run into some field. She's maybe trying to tell them, stop, stop. Somehow they end up getting hypothermia, which is easy when you're drinking. That happens really quick. They end up in the river, in that ditch, in the water, and then it freezes over. And so they're not found. So you think that's pretty easy, except family doesn't, for months, family's like, what happened to them? And finally, when they're found, there's this guy. This is the investigator on the case, Deputy Bill Youngstrom from the Sheriff's Department. Now, this guy, he's in the Unsolved Mysteries thing. I'll link that below, saying he doesn't think they went into the water that night. He thinks somehow they were someplace else. They were seen at a party, all kinds of suspicions. And then somewhere along the way, both of them get murdered, but there's no sign of any, and there's no proof on their bodies, any kind of murder, okay? There's no gunshot wounds, there's no stab wounds, there's no hyoid bones not broken. They got nothing. Well, he decides, for some reason, these two ended up dying someplace else. And months later, they bring whoever killed them, brings their bodies back and throws them in the ditch because they remember exactly where that car was, which they're not. I mean, if they're not even involved in it, why would they even know where the ditch was, right? Besides which, it was probably what they waited for it to unfreeze. I mean, what it doesn't even make sense. So, and the girl's wearing the same clothes. So you would think if she's wearing the same clothes as she's found in, that was when it happened. Okay. And just because you don't remember what he was wearing doesn't mean it didn't happen at the same time. So the fact that they would go off, somehow be going to parties and then be later murdered and thrown back in the ditch. And she never came back for her baby. He never came back to go to work. What are they living off of? And only one person claims she saw him at a party. She saw them at a party, or him. I mean, and this guy, I don't know what's wrong with this dude, Occam's razor guy. Obviously, they ended up there that night. No one murdered these two. And so the question sometimes is, do people who are indigenous, coming from Native American tribes in the United States and in Canada, are they a lot of times getting they're not really doing a proper job in investigating them as they would other people? Sometimes that can be true. And I'm going to try to do some studies on some of these issues, but this was not one of them. Okay. Now the family still believes they were murdered. And it pisses me off because, it's hard enough to accept your children have died, but now this goes on for years and years and years. He's still searching for who killed these kids. And now the family still believes they were murdered, and it just never ends. And it's cruel. And I just don't know where this guy gets his thinking from, because it's ludicrous to me. So I found that frustrating. Occam's razor sometimes is very accurate. And especially when it comes down to drinking, accidents, water, hypothermia happens real quick. Hypothermia can happen so fast, especially when you get wet. And if he was running and they fell in drunk into the water, now they're in freezing water, and who knows? A deputy should get a different job, perhaps. I mean, it's frustrating to me. This is very often true. Wet, you're a goner. It's something to be really aware of. If you're driving around, it doesn't hurt. It really doesn't hurt to have in your trunk of your car long johns, a warm coat. It doesn't even hurt to have a winter rated sleeping bag, because if everything goes to hell, you can put a hat and gloves on, and you can get clothes on, and you can get into that the winter rated sleeping bag. You can save your life. But if you're like my granddaughter seems to think she should walk out in frozen weather and a just light sweater, and I keep going, no, go back. I want to see you put a jacket on. I want a hat and gloves. She goes, yeah, but we're just going down to the whatever. I'm like, but the car could break down. We don't know. Something could happen, and you need to have proper clothing on. Anybody who hikes knows that you got to be aware. No matter where you're going, you got to be properly dressed. You have to have enough water. You got to do the things that keep you alive. So unfortunately, drinking and crashing and being near water in the winter, not a good combo. Yeah. So very sad. Mary says, I'm shocked about all this drink driving. We don't have much sympathy for it in the UK. I don't know. It may be because Mary, and I don't know if this is true, so this may be crap, but this is a huge country and we don't have much good public transportation. And so when people drink here, they don't drink at the local pub and walk home. They drink someplace and they have to drive home 30 minutes. That's what does us in, because we don't have good public transportation. We are so spread out in the suburbs and in the country. That's why we have a lot of these things happening, with drunk driving and and people ending up crashing in this situation. Very sad. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is the disappearance of Susanna Jane, and however you pronounce her last name, because I didn't look it up. Okay, let me find her. Okay, it says here, I'm trying to look at the way they're showing how to Lamplugh. Wait a minute. Let me see if they do a sound thing on it. Come on, give me a sound thing. Where's the sound thing? No? Oh, come on. Now, sometimes they give you a little, a little thing where you can click on it and it says it for you, but this one doesn't. Okay. So I'm not sure how you pronounce her name. If anybody knows and can tell me, Lamplugh, is that correct? Depends where you are. There's sometimes stuff, but sometimes these places are a little bit isolated and they're small towns, and yeah, very possible. That wasn't too great. So anyway, Susanna, what's interesting about this case, and I'm not going to do a whole show on it because pretty much I think I know who killed her. So, and I don't think it's a big, huge, it's too convoluted to actually go through all the evidence because I can't really prove what's true and what's not true, but it's kind of obvious to me who done did it. She was a British real estate agent reported missing on the 28th of July, 1986. So we're talking a long time ago, too. And it's hard to review cases from too far back without really good stuff. Well, you can't review the police reports, and it's just there's so much. You're just like, whatever. So she disappeared, and she was officially declared dead, but presumed murdered in 1993. The last clue to her whereabouts was an appointment to show a house on, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right either, on Sherrills Road, to someone she referred to as Mr. Kipper. As of 2023, the case remains unsolved. However, this dude is the one they believe is responsible, and pretty much everybody agrees. There's not a lot of people think it isn't true. This guy is John Cannon. All right. This is a photo fit of a man that was seen outside this area. And yeah, it pretty much does look like the guy. Okay. So I'm not always, sold on those kind of things, but, it kind of looks like the guy, don't you think? Anyway, so she apparently went to this location and people saw her leave the location. The guy had like a champagne bottle, and then it looked like they were tussling into her car, and some people thought he was pushing her into the car and they were arguing or something. I wasn't quite sure. Then her car, they goes someplace. Her car ends up somewhere. She does not, and she's never been found. Okay. But I want you to hear about this guy, Cannon, and this is what drives me crazy. All right. So let me find the part where, about this guy. Let's see. There was one other guy they thought might have done it because he had raped another woman and killed her, but he only had one leg, and apparently that I don't know if he had a good fake leg or he was hopping around, but apparently he didn't fit the bill. This guy does, and a whole bunch of evidence that this guy does. But I want you to hear this. All right. This is why I want to do this, not because it's a solved case, just not a prosecuted case. 15 months after her disappearance in October 1987, John Cannon abducted, this is 50 months afterwards, he abducted and murdered 29-year-old Shirley Banks from Bristol before attempting to rape 2 women in a shop 3 weeks later after driving to the shop in his black BMW. And the black BMW does play into this, that it was seen at this woman's murder. So he rapes and murders one woman. This is after this woman disappeared. And then he rapes 2 other women. Now, here is my problem with the justice system. Anybody who does this is a serial rapist. If you rape women, you're a serial rapist. You're not, even if it's just one woman. I point this out all the time. I'm not talking about you go on a date and you both got drunk. No, I'm not going to call you a serial rapist. But you grab a woman on the street and you pull her into a bush and you rape her. You're a serial rapist because you like raping. Period. That's what you do. And if you rape and kill, you're a serial killer. So start with that whole knowledge right there and then. Don't give this guy a break and play it down. But this is what they did. All right. So he also tried to abduct a woman the night he abducted Banks. So he killed the one woman, but he also tried to abduct another one. And he had been using wine bars in Bristol as his hunting grounds to search for victims. He held Banks hostage in his flat for 18 hours before killing her and dumping her. All right. And then they found more information. All right. Now, they went to interview him. All right. So now I want you to hear this. All right. Wait a minute. I want to find the part where, hold on a second. I want to get back to, what's her name? Sorry. Susanna, or Suzy as they call her. I want you to hear this part. And this is a part that bugs me. I've got to find it. It's a very long article. Okay, where is it? Hold on one second. I Have I lost it again? Okay, here we go. 1 year after her disappearance, detectives noticed that the artist's impression of Mr. Kipper strongly resembled John Cannon, a convicted rapist, later an abductor and murderer. Why was he a convicted rapist? But this is before he murdered the other woman and raped the other two. He had been residing in a nearby prison hostel outside of HM Prison Wormwood Scrubs in the lead up to Susanna's disappearance. So when she disappeared, he was in a prison hostel. Why was he in a prison hostel? What was he there for, you ask? Was he there because he stole some candy from the store and they didn't want to put him in a real prison? They gave him a place you could come and go, but you know the halfway house kind of thing. Oh, no. In 1980, he had raped and beaten his girlfriend when she tried to leave him. Okay, that could be, okay, I can sort of see beaten and raped, it's a personal thing. Is it really rape or, they were in a relationship? You know how that people say that wasn't, it's a relationship. But it's still pretty nasty and pretty bad. So he deserved some time, but maybe that's why he's in the little prison hostel. But after he beat and raped his girlfriend when she tried to leave, which means he's a psychopath, then he raped a shopkeeper at knife point in 1981. Oh, wait a minute. So he is a serial rapist because now he's raped somebody he's not dating. He's not in a relationship with. He's raped a shopkeeper. That's two rapes. One of them a stranger. Serial rapist right there. Should be in prison for 20 years, 30 years. Don't let him out. But no, he had been on day release from the prison in the months preceding Suzy's disappearance and had been given a job in the area as a porter. So this rapist is running around doing stuff. So he liked to visit with women in wine bars, and he tried to dress up in a fancy suit, and that was his way of luring people. So they thought he was safe because he was dressed well, and he was slick. He was a slick guy. But knowing this, you see, the people who put him in prison knew this kind of stuff, but they still let him out. And so 2 more women were murdered and more were raped. And where is this little piece of crap now? Let's see. I assume, at least I hope he's still in prison. Let's see where the buzzard is. Current status. All right, he is still well in prison. Oh, they can't get him to confess, you see. But all the criminologists, Christopher Berry D. And David Wilson, all agree that he is the guy and he's not going to confess because he's a psychopath and he's not getting any benefit, which would absolutely be true. So, but why? Why was this guy, after he'd raped 2 women, why was he in a prison hostel and being allowed to come out and work in the community? Where the people in the community have no idea about this stuff. That's the problem. It's not like they're putting a big picture up where he's a porter. They put his picture up and go, he's on prison release for rape. That's not what's happening. They have no idea. And of course, whatever he tells them, they think he's just a normal, nice guy. And that's sickening to me. Absolutely sickening. So in order to give him a break, they allowed 2 other women to be murdered and more women to be raped. And we don't even know how many women he murdered and raped. We don't, because serial killers often have those unknown ones. So a serial rapist and a serial killer should never see the light of day again because one can be the other too. So serial rapists often become serial killers. So neither one of them deserves to be out in society. I don't know why they don't get a life sentence straight up front. And I do mean this by a person who's a legitimate serial rapist. I say the date rape thing, even though it could be, that's very hard to prove. But, some guy jumps out of a vehicle and he grabs a 20-year-old girl or a 12-year-old girl or whatever and pulls her into his vehicle and he rapes her and then throws her on the side of the road. That guy should never be in society again. I don't know. I don't understand. You can't fix him. And he's dangerous as hell for the rest of eternity. But they let him out. And that's what bothered me about this case. Not that he didn't do it, but that he did do it and he did it to others and he was allowed to be allowed to run around society. It makes me sick. Oh, really? Yeah. Well, you're talking about the guy with one leg. I don't know. Apparently, he sued the prison because I lost his leg or something. It's a bizarre story. But anyway, I'm not quite sure how he was doing the rapes with one leg. Did he have a fake leg? I couldn't quite get that out. Maybe I needed to research further, or maybe he just, hopped around with one leg and hey, disabled people can rape and murder too. I pointed that out. That's why, the case in South Africa, what's his name? The Blade Runner guy, Oscar Pistorius. Is that how you say his name? He killed his girlfriend. And I don't believe his story that he thought it was somebody else. I don't believe so. I believe he was angry at her and he killed her. And just because he doesn't have legs doesn't mean he can't kill. And no, it doesn't take much to be able to kill. If you're in a wheelchair, all you do is say, can you come here a minute? It's too late. You can kill from a wheelchair if you got strong arms. And a lot of people who do this with wheelchairs have really strong arms and they do a lot of weightlifting from the wheelchair. So unless the person is totally comatose, they have, or completely paraplegic, they have an ability to commit a crime. So never count them out. Don't count them out. Let's say, Strega says, for England, Wales, and Northern Ireland as a whole, Bristol is the safest major city. Very surprised that they had this prison hostel situation. Well, this was back, and maybe it's better today, because this was, when was he rolling around? I can't remember where it was now. These articles are so long, I can't find anything. So maybe, she was 1987, wasn't it? I'll go back and look at where she went missing. That's when it would be. In 1987. So we're talking a long time ago. Is that 40 years ago? No, 30 years ago. My math sucks. And who knows what they did back then, but yeah, I mean, but see, we have this happen a lot and people don't even understand that it happens because the prison system does not notify the citizenry of what they're doing with the prisoners. Oftentimes they just slide right out and we have no clue. That's why, you have these things where you can look at the map where all the sex predators are and you go, holy crap, it's like they're everywhere. And it's because they don't get very strong sentences a lot of times and they're out and about. And they do not tell us when that happens. They believe that a person, once they're released from prison, has the right to make their life work. And we don't have the right to hang it over their head, put the sign on them or something on their forehead that says, I am a rapist, therefore, and he can't ever work, blah, blah, blah. But that's the whole point. If he's that kind of person, he should never be out again. It might be different if you're talking about a robbery or, something else that happened. But I'm sorry, serial rapists and serial predators should never be outside of prison. But, wait a minute. Strega says, it's true. We just had a one-legged man stab a pedestrian to death for blocking in Times Square. Well, there you go. And, that's why you do have to be cautious and never assume somebody is not capable. There are very elderly people who've killed. Very, very young people, like that 6-year-old boy who just shot the teacher. Very young people who kill. So don't count anybody out as far as safety goes. It's sometimes shocking how you just can't believe that person could commit those kind of crimes. But when somebody's a psychopath, it really doesn't matter, their age or a lot of times their disability. They can do what they can do. So. Well, see, they won't let you do that. So there you go. And therefore they're out and we don't know it. And that's why you have to be very cautious, especially with dating. Because say that picture I showed you of the guy who killed his whole family, he looks nice. And a lot of people look really nice and can talk a good game. And they seem like the nicest people. But we're in a society where we often don't know people very well. When you live in a small town in olden days, you pretty much knew everybody in town. So if a guy says, I want to date you, you knew his family. You knew him when he was little. You sort of had a clue who he was, at least. And now we meet somebody, people on Tinder, for God's sakes, meeting people that, they don't even, it's not even a guy they work with. I mean, at least if you, dated a guy you worked with, you might know something about him if he, his family wasn't in town. Go to college, maybe you get to know him in classes and hopefully you get to know enough about him that he's, halfway decent. you go on Tinder, good luck. You're just throwing the dice. So I think one of our problems is the way we meet people and how quickly we trust them when we shouldn't. And I think, I want to point out a thing about real estate agents. They are target. I think the guy with the one leg also killed another real estate agent, which is why they looked at him. Women going to real estate there's a high rate of them getting killed when you consider professions. And why is that? It's because they go alone to a home where somebody meets them and they don't necessarily have to prove who they are. So it's very dangerous. So if you're a good real estate agent, you should take great precautions as to meeting anybody in an isolated location. Should have them come into the office first. They should provide their identification. You should know exactly where they're going. And preferably, if it's a woman and a man, the woman does not go alone with the guy. But if the woman wants to make money, she's a real estate agent. She might be a fabulous real estate agent. And she wants to go and show all these houses to everybody. And she doesn't want to have people say, you can't go without a man. And she's like, come on now, I can't make a living this way. And so there you run into the problem. Then your risk goes up. That's all there is to it. But I don't know, a lot of these real estate agents, some of them are being more cautious and some of them are still pretty much just crossing fingers and hoping they don't run to the bad guy. So like American Psycho. Yep, that is true. And it's true. Some of the cleanest cut people can be the worst. Yeah. And one of the best ways is to recognize that your appearance, that's how you get people to trust you, because people do trust prettier people. That's the way it is. So if a person looks a little disheveled or haggard or not as attractive, people mistrust that person way more than somebody who is just really pretty and really dressed nice and all that stuff. They just assume that person's okay. Yeah. So you haven't been drinking much today for a rich drunk. No, I know, Don't let them know. Don't let them know, Takes away all their fun of trashing me. She's a drunk. Oh, I say, add them to all the adjectives that people call me. Well, I'll live with it. I will. I'll live with it. So, that's interesting. That's a good point, Fairy Princess. Social work also can be very dangerous. You're making home visits. Yes, because you walk into something. As a matter of fact, I heard this funny story once about a brand new social worker. This guy, he was a white kid, and he just got his degree. And went to some Chicago projects where he kind of stood out, shall we say. And so he went to talk to this family. And when he was in there, he noticed that the older members of the family, young men, were like going out the window, like a fire escape. And he started getting a little concerned. Well, he came out of the apartment. And as he was trying, there's one of these places that, there's no way out except there's only one entrance, and like a courtyard, and one way out. And he's trying to go to that entrance. And those guys, the sons, I guess I don't know, maybe they just didn't like what he was talking to mom about or whatever. Anyway, they lined up in front of that exit. So he thought, I'm going to have to, I know people respect you if you're strong. And they're standing there like that. He said he had his little briefcase and he said, I was going to be tough. So I said, threw my briefcase down. And I said, if you want to fight me, I guess you fight me. He said, beat the hell out of me. So, but social work can be dangerous. And you're noticed a lot of times. It doesn't matter what race you are. You're just noticed a lot of times that you're a social worker or you're a cop or whatever, and you're coming into a territory where people are having issues, shall we say. That's why when cops have to go in and arrest somebody or a warrant or domestic stuff, that's very, very dangerous because whoever is there having those issues, they don't like the cops and they're not in a good mood. So it doesn't matter whether you're in the city or whether in the country or the suburbs, it's dangerous. And it's, unfortunately, it's part of your job. So then what do you do, So it's a tricky one. It really a tricky one. So, yeah. And, yeah, I don't know. I look at, anybody becoming a teacher these days. It's kind of dangerous in classrooms sometimes these days. And I don't know what's safer anymore. I really don't. But yeah. Yeah, sometimes just certain things are really dangerous. And real estate, going to real estate places and meeting someone can be extremely dangerous unless it's proven who they are. David Bartoleben, who was he was a Virginia serial killer, and he targeted real estate agents, and he killed quite a few of them. Yeah, he sure did. So anyway, I think that's all I have. Finally, it's getting late. What is it? Up. Yep, it's getting late. Let's see if there's anything left I wanted to, that I forgot that I wanted to do. I think I got everything today. How about that? Usually I have stuff left over and I throw it to the next week, but I actually managed to cover it. So that's going to be it. And yeah, so I'm glad you were all here, and you're all great as usual. And yeah, so I might be doing a call-in maybe later this week. I think I'm going to do it with Joe Stunner. We're going to do, he's in the UK, so it's probably going to be 4 p.m. on Friday, EST, 4 p.m. EST on Friday, 8 p.m. in the UK. We're going to do we're talking about some boxing cases of people who has mysterious boxing deaths, and not in the ring, but outside the ring. He's got a famous case he wants to talk about that happened in the UK. And, we're both boxing fans. And so we're going to have fun with that. So we're going to do that on Friday. So we'll have a fun one. And then Saturday or Sunday, I think it might be a birthday party. So I'm not sure which day I'm going to be doing the show. And I've got 2 ideas for the show. So I have to figure out which one. And thank you very much. Yes, 25,000 subscribers, and the subscribers do help with the algorithm. And of course, more people, the more chance I have of advertisers, which keeps the show going. Oh, really? You love boxing too? Wow, it's kind of unusual. But my brother-in-law was a famous boxer, so consequently, I got involved in it. Joe. Yeah, thanks for the fun. Yeah, Joe is fun. Should be a great show. Yeah, I think we're going to have a good time. And then Benny has come in to say we're going to do a few Danish crimes, and especially the guy with the submarine. We're going to do that one. So that will be either not this week or next week. I'm not sure, next week or the week after. Not sure. And always remember, if you want to do a call-in with me, or you have an idea for a call-in that maybe more than one person might call in, let me know, because they're a little different than doing a regular show. So it has to be something the 2 people on the phone can talk about, an interesting topic that we can get into. So, but always send your idea for that. And if you want to be on a call and just say, "Hey, Pat, I'd like to do this. I'd like to call in." Oh yes, that is true. This is true. Oops, where is it? Sky Ricky says, yes, you can watch Joe Stunner boxing YouTube. Yes, he does. It's kind of funny because he's from the UK side of it. So a lot of his stuff are UK boxers, which I'm very unfamiliar with, as opposed to American boxers. So, but, and of course, there's people here who, in Australia and other countries, and are like, yeah, we know our boxers, unless they meet, you know what I mean, from 2 different countries, and they're, clashing, we tend to know more from our own country. So, but fun. Oh my goodness, the Muhammad Ali days. Oh my gosh. Well, that's a ways back. A ways back. So anyway, thank you very much, Scarlett. And so thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Kat. I didn't see you come in. Oh my goodness, you met O.J. Simpson at Holyfield fight in Vegas. Whoa, that must have been a great. To see that fight would have been really cool. And yeah. So anyway, thank you everybody for being here. And again, if you're new to the channel and are still here, please like and subscribe. Join Patreon if you want to be in the chat room with all my great people here. And I'll see you, those who are here. No, Friday. Friday will be an extra. There's 8 lives a month, but that'll be live too. So it'll be 9 this month at least. See you then.